Welcome to Talk Wrestling in High Definition, once again. Glad y'all are with us this week. Today's topic is going to be about the current upper echelon of WWE becoming stale. And I got a couple different questions regarding that. One's from Potty's Y Pedigree. Potts Y Pedigree? Okay. Sorry about that. Do you think WWE are running out of solid main eventers as Taker and Triple H are out injured? Well, they were out injured. Ray has serious knee problems and Cena's having back problems. And the other one is from Fat Naps. Do you think wrestling standards are eroding in WWE? It seems that main event matches with the likes of Cena and Edge, etc. seem to frankly suck, and mid-card matches in the NXT have better wrestling. Do you enjoy watching the big names like Cena, Edge, etc.? I kind of agree with both these guys, you know? I've talked about this many times. Before we went to High Definition, I had more elaboration. WWE has become very stale. Their product is very old and outdated, and a lot of the guys that you're seeing that are in the upper echelon, as I mentioned, Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, John Cena, Randy Orton, Edge, all those guys have been around, for the better part of the last decade. And I read this in The Death of WCW, and I gotta agree with it. 1 year in wrestling years is like 3 or 4 years in normal people years. It's like with dog years. The wrestling age is more amplified than a regular age because you're seeing these guys once, twice, 3, 4 times a week for 2 hours each time you see them. So you're seeing these people over and over and over again, and eventually the act gets stale. How many times can we see Rey Mysterio do a 619 and break his freaking knee before we go, okay, come on, next, whatever. How many times can we see John Cena do this before it's like, okay, Cena, take your hand away from your face, smile big, or, or whatever. Do something different. I've talked about this for a long time. They need to do something. And, these guys that are coming up in Florida and the guys that are in the mid-card now, like the NXTers, and all these guys that are starting to make their way to the upper echelon, when the upper echelon guys leave, will carry the company into the next 10, 15 years, they have the lack of staleness. These guys are fresh, or if they're not fresh, they're right there, and they haven't been around long enough to make people go, yeah, remember, a guy like a John Morrison, he's been around only 5 years. He's still a hot commodity. The Miz has been around, wrestling-wise, he's been wrestling only about 3-4 years. So he's going to be a fresh deal. MVP, same thing. He won the U.S. Championship in 2007. That was his big thing right now. That's still his biggest claim to fame, was the U.S. Championship. And he's still fresh in people's minds. The NXT guys, they're still young, they're hungry, they want the brass ring, they're going to fight for it with everything they've got, and they're going to, pull out all the stops. The young guys are the key. And yes, John Cena is still a young man. Yes, Undertaker is still young in regular people years. Yeah, remember, Undertaker's almost 50 years old. For a wrestler, that's ancient. Unless you've got a body of steel like Hulk Hogan, and even Hulk Hogan is in his 50s, and he had to have major back surgery because his body just couldn't take it anymore. Ric Flair is in his 60s. He's still going. There is the rare exception of a guy who, while the act may be stale, he's still a hot topic. Ric Flair is still going to be the greatest of all time, no matter how much he tarnishes his legacy in TNA, because he's Ric freaking Flair. Okay? Tapping to Jay Lethal a couple months back, or whatever it was, in the figure 4 was ridiculous. But whatever. Yes, there is staleness in WWE. Yes, there's even staleness in TNA. How many times can you see AJ Styles wrestle? AJ is the number 1 guy in the world, but, what about the guys like Bryan Danielson, who's been around for 10 years, but he's not stale because we haven't seen him on national stage enough? He was given that brief little chance and then just gone. What about guys like Samoa Joe, who still has, yet to really, explode onto a national scene? TNA gave the opportunity, and TNA is a big deal, but it's not WWE big. And then you got guys like Christopher Daniels, who, has been around for a long, long time, but, was never world champion in TNA. There's plenty of guys out there that can make the market fresh and make the business seem like, wow, this is new, this is exciting. But until WWE's willing to do that and let these guys work, It's not going to happen. Or TNA, not going to let these guys work. The indie scene is the place to go for fresh new people. Okay? Check out the indie scene and check out Talk Wrestling next time. We'll see you then.